intersection of making art and making money.
Hello and welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm. I'm Swiger and I am in England right now with Rachel and
Allison.
With Rachel and Allison of Yarn in the City from yarninthecity.com. And Allison is going to be leading a yarn crawl tomorrow around London. And we are at the Geeky Puffin Knitpalooza retreat in Farnham, England. And that's why my voice is like this.
Teaching all day.
Yeah, but I wanted to invite them to the podcast to talk about what they do and their work days and what they're enthusiastic about, because I thought it's just too good an opportunity. I have them right here.
Absolutely.
We have snuck into a dining room. We have commandeered the light switches. We are living on the edge. So, so why don't you tell me about what you do, Rachel?
Okay, well, what I do on the small business side is I do Yarn in the City with Allison, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a bit. I also run a hand-dyed fiber business online that is called Porpoise Fur. I do some knit pattern designing, and I'm also a technical editor. So I do a lot of work with a couple of online magazines and a yarn company and a print magazine, and then a lot of independent designers in the UK and Europe and the States.
That is a lot.
It is a lot. I also, 2 months ago, started a new full-time day job, so I am in the process of trying to figure out how exactly to fit what used to take up a full day into a much smaller period of time.
Yeah,
with
huge.
With sometimes reasonable success and sometimes not so much. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah. How about you, Allison?
Well, I think like probably a lot of your audience, I also wear a lot of hats like Rachel does. I'm a sales rep for 4 different yarn brands here in the UK. I also have my own marketing communications clients who are within the knitting and fiber textile industry. And then we have the events that we do through Yarn in the City.
Okay, so tell us what you guys do with Yarn in the City.
So Yarn in the City started 4 years ago. We created the Great London Yarn Crawl. So it was a way to bring people together and sort of show off our adopted city, because we're both here in London.
We're both not from the UK.
Yeah, and
in case you hadn't
at the time there wasn't really the same kind of like yarn crawls that we had experienced in North America, and we thought that was a nice way to sort of introduce that here, and it would be a way for us to build community and meet people who were also like-minded, and also show off the great shops in our city, because there's tons.
That's fantastic. I so want to go on one. So you guys all do a million things. Why don't you start, Rachel, and tell us how you manage a work day around working. And I know you're still working this out, so it's okay to not have it figured out.
Yes. Well, so a lot of this last couple of months has actually been very busy in a number of ways, because I've started a new job, and I do editing for a couple of companies that basically have quarterly jobs. So every quarter, a bunch of patterns comes through that I have to go through. And those typically tend to hit more or less at the same time, which is not the best planning in the world. And then we have just finished sort of the end of the Wool Festival season has just sort of gone through. And not only did we go to a couple of shows, but we also put one on. So the way that my sort of typical day looks is I am up quite early. I do a bunch of editing before. I have 2 kids, so I do a bunch of editing before they get up and have to go off to school. I go off to work, and in the evenings, it used to be that I would have done all of this other stuff sort of during the course of the day, and I would knit or spin or relax. And actually now I'm just doing a lot more work in the evenings.
Yeah.
There's a lot less TV going on, a lot more typing in front of the computer.
Yeah.
And I'm still, as I said, I'm still figuring out how to make all of that work. I try really, really hard not to work on the weekends, because it's way too easy for it to bleed over and take up all of my life. Right. As much time as there is available, it will encompass. So
definitely.
Yeah, it is a challenge, as it is probably for everyone who's working from home or doing a small business or any of those things. It's an ongoing balancing act.
I bet.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your
Yeah.
workday look like with all the clients and everything else you do?
My workday is filled with a lot of good intentions. No, seriously. One of the things that I do for my marketing communications clients is a lot of strategic planning and content planning for either their blog or their newsletter or their social media. So usually the start of my week will involve looking at the plans that I've done for my clients and seeing, are we almost at the end of a quarter, because we do them quarterly, and do I need to schedule a new session, or what's going on for that week for my client? Do they have a newsletter coming out? Do I need to give them a kick up the butt and remind them that they've got something coming up? Or am I writing something for them for either a newsletter or a blog? And do I need information from them, or do I have everything that I need already? So teeing those things up and making sure that they're moving forward. Right now with Yarn in the City, it's a lot of just sort of doing the postmortem wrap-up stuff on our show. So press release, sending out surveys to our vendors, our guests to, find out what we could do better, because it's the first time we've ever done it.
Right.
And then, the third chunk is sort of looking after my clients. So when was the last time that I followed up with a shop? Do they need more yarn? Have they all heard about the new yarn? And just sort of touching base and making sure that, they're getting their orders fulfilled when they want stuff.
And so that's part of your job as a yarn rep.
Yeah, I'm pretty hands-on as a yarn rep in terms of, because some of the brands that I represent are from North America. The advantage to those companies are that I'm here and they're in Canada or in the States, and they've got, I'm here, and we don't have to worry about that 8-hour time difference. Right. So I can manage the relationship and then get the information that they need.
Yeah.
Also because, one of the companies, we've been coming into the UK for a while. It's also one of the things that I've taken on is building relationships with designers who are here and introducing our yarns to them. And of course it works for them too, because they'd like to be more well known in North America. So by using our yarns, it's a very win-win.
Right. They
situation.
get yarn support, and then your yarn company also talks about their design as being in their yarn.
Yeah.
Right. That is, okay, so there are so many good points that I know my listeners want to know. I had on Periscope at TNNA almost a year ago, I had a yarn rep. We just met in the hallway, kind of. And she answered questions on Periscope, but because it only lived for 24 hours, I know the questions people have are so there are a lot of indie dyers that listen to this, and designers who want yarn support. And one of the things I'm always telling them is to the designers to talk to indie companies, because they're always looking for designers. It's not like you're bugging them. They need designers in their stuff. And, okay, so one of the questions I know indie dyers have is when do they know they're ready for a yarn rep? So I work with a lot of dyers who want to do more wholesale sales, and sometimes they're just doing their first trade show. And then we are, when do they know they're ready for a yarn rep?
Oh gosh, I might not be the best person to answer that, because when I moved over here, I already sort of had a relationship with the yarn company that I work with. That was sort of the first brand that I took on. And I just sort of phoned them up and I said, are you looking to expand to the UK and the EU? And because I'm moving, and I wasn't I wasn't like cold calling them, because they already knew me. But I said, would you be interested in having a yarn rep? And they were like, yeah, let's try it out. And so we sort of agreed to try it out for 6 to 12 months, and it's just kind of
so do you mostly, when you work with American yarn companies, do they already have yarn reps in the US and then they're just expanding?
So the company that I work for, I was their first yarn rep, and I was here, and they've since
got yarn reps
in North America.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So that's because I know the when you work with is like a more indie dyer. She's not like a giant. It's not like Cascade in Plymouth.
No, but has been around for 11 years. So, yeah. Longevity.
And that's the benefit of having a yarn rep. I hear from dyers all the time that want to go wholesale, and I tell them that yes, the yarn rep takes a percentage, but they also are managing all those relationships that you don't have to manage. And the reason why dyers often want to go wholesale is to stop having to send out so many packages that ends up taking up so much of their time. But if you have a yarn rep who's managing the relationship, you're sending out fewer, bigger orders, and you can go back to what you do best, which might not be customer service.
Or the fulfillment and the shipping and all of that
Right.
logistical
Or
stuff.
they're hiring somebody
Somebody to do it.
full-time or part-time, whatever, to do that.
Right.
But, I work on a commission basis. So,
Right.
Obviously I'm hustling to sell
Right.
yarn.
Right.
But somebody who's in the studio with them
Right.
doing the admin stuff would probably be as good, if
A
not
good first
better
step
than,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing, is when you see these companies that have yarn everywhere and in all the yarn shops and are overseas, they are not doing it by themselves.
No.
They are not like contacting all the shops and then handling all their order fulfillment. And I think that's the big myth, is they see bigger companies and they're like, well, that's just one girl. It might just be one girl that's the brand, but often with a yarn wrap and fulfillment. But so that's something people ask all the time about yarn wraps. I just wanted to ask you.
And I think for somebody who's sort of looking to get into that or is expanding their business, I mean, this is a hard thing that I've found with, wearing different hats, is that as they're all growing at the same time, it's sort of like at a certain point, you realize that you need to hire somebody else to help you with whatever it is that you need help with.
Right.
But can you afford to do it right away? And so
Right.
it's going to be probably more painful in the short term, but
Right.
how much are you going to lose by not doing that
Yes.
in
Yes.
the long term?
And actually the girl who works
And I haven't
with
figured
me-
that out yet.
No. And the girl who works with me, Jess, she put together a class, because we hear this question so much. She put together a class of how do you know you need a VA, the person who would do all the stuff online for you. And so in that class, she helps you walk through and we'll link it in the show notes, walk through the math of it and like the projects you would have them do, so that when you do hire someone, and she's not taking on more clients, it's just to help people figure out. So when you do hire someone, you know what you're going to give them and that you can afford it and how many hours and all that. Well, we'll link that up in the show notes. But get help.
Good.
We
Yes.
want you to get help.
Clearly, not this class. I thought you were going to offer me a job.
No, this is all full up.
She's taken.
I actually just got an email this week that said, when you mentioned Jess, was it this person? And is she available? She has lots of other clients in the yarn world too, though. But she has a class. We'll link it. And so because we've now been told by several people we have to leave, I'll ask you guys my last question, which is, what are you enthusiastic about right now?
Well, what am I enthusiastic about right now? I'm enthusiastic that we're done organizing a 2-day show and that it went as well as it did, which
Yay.
was fantastic.
It was like bonus points.
The fact that it went well and people were happy is absolutely a bonus. And I'm also enthusiastic about thinking more about what we're going to do next for next year. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for helping with that.
Yeah, we had a one-on-two earlier today,
Yes.
and I got to hear all of their plans. It's exciting.
Yeah. Am I enthusiastic about? Well, yeah, that the Yarn Emporium is done and that there's time to sort of get back to everything else that I've been neglecting over the last few weeks. But actually, I'm going to Canada for Christmas, and I haven't been home in, well, probably since last summer. So yeah,
That'll be good.
yeah,
That's
I'm
exciting.
excited.
Definitely. I just noticed your spindle necklace, and I really like it. She's wearing. So you have to watch the video. You have to go to taraswiger.com and then watch the video to see her pretty spindle necklace, or watch it on YouTube.
There it is. Allison gave me that.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I wanted to say, they keep mentioning the yarn show that they just finished. The name of it is Yarn Emporium.
Yes.
So that is what they did. You can check it all out at yarnthecity.com. I assume all of the things are linked there.
Yep.
Our book is there.
Yes. Okay. So they have the London, is it
Craft
the
guide.
craft guide? And I got it when it first came out, and I've like flipped through it whenever I needed to get excited about this trip again. I was like, it's split up like by neighborhood, right?
Well,
There
by
is-
discipline. So
Oh,
it's
right, but
yarn, fabric, and haberdashery.
I felt like there was also an area where it talks about what's in the neighborhood.
north, south, east, west.
Right.
Yes.
And that was very helpful because I'm not going to be able to hit it all, obviously. And also haberdashery. I don't know that I'll be going to haberdashery shops. But I know lots of the listeners do that
Well, it's,
need the stuff that's there, like the trim,
notions
right?
buttons and
Yeah.
buttons and
Zippers.
all that good stuff.
Yeah. They're just not haberdashery shops in East Tennessee.
Strangely enough.
Right. There's not.
I don't think there are haberdashery shops outside of the UK, in all
Right.
honesty. At least not in
One
that
of those
form.
lovely words.
Right. So thank you guys for
Thank
being
you
on
so
the
much.
podcast.
It's a
And
pleasure.
you can go and find the show notes at taraswiger.com. /podcast, whatever podcast this number it is. It will be linked below the video, and it will be linked in the audio show notes. So click on that, and I will link to them and everything we talked about, including that class. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks for putting up with my travel-weary voice. Have a fantastically enthusiastic day. Thanks so much for watching. You can get weekly lessons like this in your inbox, along with access to worksheets and checklists and transcripts from all the podcast episodes when you sign up below. You can also subscribe on YouTube, and YouTube will notify you when there's a new video. And you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. If you do, be sure to say hello or leave a comment below the video to let me know you're there. Thank you so much for watching, and have a very enthusiastic day.